Please don't. Get this thing shared first. I'm live, so if you want to share it.
Hi. Oh, okay.
There's a long story to why I've changed my name on Instagram, and if we have time tonight, I may share that with y'all either tonight or do it in a separate post. But I'll let y'all know. It's a good reason, but it's a long story behind the reason. So it is. At least it's gonna take me a good 5-6 minutes to explain it.
Okay. Yeah.
So you know how I do. Yeah. Okay. All right. What's up, everybody? As it's been said right in there, I'm no longer the Mad Hatter. I'm just Eddie now. And this is my beautiful wife, Nicole, also known as the Red Owl. She can either choose to go by that or not go by that anymore. My wife just said ooh to the new puzzle that's on our board called Ice Cream Dream by Lego. That's what we're working on right now. It's a lovely surprise to her. She didn't expect to see that. Yeah. Thought you might like that after the last one that I did. We got a jam-packed show for y'all tonight. We're going to be talking about a very heavy subject tonight regarding domestic violence. Recently in the news, a football player was charged with assault and attempted murder of his girlfriend in a domestic violence situation. And as a full disclaimer, my wife and I have been debating about doing a podcast based on this for the past few days. And we finally decided, or rather she let me decide, and I'm gracious enough to say thank you for letting us have this conversation today, because I think it's important for us to have the conversation and to continue to have the conversation regarding domestic violence in our world. It's not something that we need to sweep under the rug. It's something that we need to talk about, something that we need to address, not just because of the violence itself, but things that precede it, some of the mental health aspects of it, why it's so taboo in our world, and what we can do as people who may either be experiencing it or know someone who is experiencing it and not quite sure what to do about it. And so that's what we're going to spend this show talking about today. If you are in any situation like that and you're in need of some type of assistance, we have in the Facebook feed and the YouTube feed the phone number to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. So if at any time you are feeling like you're in a situation and you don't know what to do, you don't know where to turn, and you're just needing some type of assistance in any type of way, even if it's just to talk about it, that number is listed again in the YouTube and the Facebook feed, and I'll say it again routinely on here. That number is 1-800-799-7233. And again, I want to thank Nicole for being courageous enough to be able to have the conversation today, given your and so I am gonna just go ahead and put my cards out there on the table. I am a mental health counselor for those who do not know. And so though I have not had direct experience of my own of domestic violence, I have heard countless stories of domestic violence. I've dealt with clients who have dealt with domestic violence in the past. I've dealt with some even in the prison who have either grown up in it or were perpetrators themselves. I don't know. My mom, was involved in domestic violence with my first dad. And so there's a history there with my first dad. With my first dad, I have three dads. In their own. Well, listen, in their own rights. They were my dad, and I respect them as such, in the history that we had. My birth father, the father who birthed me, okay, I'll keep that PG. But anyway, that guy. So anyway, but there is some history there, but I was not aware of what was going on enough to be able to have a conversation about what that experience was like. I really don't know. And so if I say anything, and I'm saying this to you, I'm saying this to y'all on the site, if I say anything that is out of line, or if I say anything that is inappropriate, please call me out, because I do not want to come across as being ignorant or being dumb or having some type of seat of privilege in that I don't know much about it from an experiential standpoint. So please, if you feel like I'm saying something dumb or you want to give clarity in your own right, fill out that comment box below, and we'll read the comments and we'll share with everyone here on tonight. And so again, I just wanted to put that out there because again, I do not know anything about it from an experiential standpoint, but I have dealt with people who have dealt with and are still dealing with domestic violence on a daily basis. So let's get into it. Chad Wheeler was charged with felony assault in a domestic attack case. NFL lineman was arrested Saturday after a violent assault on a woman in his home. Ooh, gosh. Chad Wheeler, an NFL offensive lineman who played 5 games with the Seattle Seahawks this season, is facing 3 criminal charges after his arrest last week on suspicion of felony domestic violence. Wheeler was released by the Seahawks on Wednesday, soon after prosecutors formally charged him with first-degree domestic violence assault, a felony, domestic violence unlawful imprisonment, a felony, and resisting arrest, a misdemeanor. In their charging papers, prosecutors in King County, Washington, said Wheeler, quote, viciously attacked the victim, unquote, and choked her. Wheeler, 27, was arrested early Saturday morning and released from King County Jail on Tuesday after posting a $400,000 bond. Wheeler will be arraigned on February 9th in Kent, Washington, where he lives. Prosecutors asked that Wheeler wear a GPS tracking device on his ankle. According to the prosecutor's charging papers, Wheeler attacked his girlfriend in her bedroom, choking her at times with both hands until she lost consciousness. After she awoke, he choked her again until she became unconscious. She told the police that when she tried to roll away from Wheeler, he grabbed her left arm and ripped her body back toward him. When she awoke the second time, the woman told the police, Wheeler returned to the bedroom and said, quote, "Oh, you're still alive," unquote. She then said she went into the bathroom, locked the door, and sent text messages to her family, friends, and Wheeler's father, asking that they call 911. The woman also called 911 and told an operator she was being, quote, killed. When the police arrived, Wheeler refused to be detained. Unable to put him in handcuffs, officers used a taser. According to the charging papers, Wheeler said, quote, "I don't beat women," and yelled to the woman that he loved her. After the woman was taken to the hospital, doctors determined she had a fractured arm and a dislocated elbow. Her face was swollen in a way that doctors believe was the result of choking. The woman also had lesions on her neck, some in the shape of her fingertips. According to the prosecutors, Wheeler is 6'7" and 310 pounds, and the woman is 5'9" and 145 pounds. The woman told the police she believed Wheeler had bipolar disorder and had not been taking medications. The NFL said it was reviewing the case. After the league completes its investigation, Wheeler could be suspended or fined if he was found to have violated the league's personal conduct policy. If Wheeler is signed by another team before the investigation is completed, the league could put him on the commissioner's exempt list, which would prohibit him from taking the field until the league's investigation is complete. Quote, the Seahawks are saddened by the details emerging against Chad Wheeler and strongly condemn this act of violence, the team said in a statement on Wednesday. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victim. On Wednesday, Wheeler apologized via social media for what he called, quote, a manic episode, and said he was leaving football. Quote, it is time for me to walk away from football and get the help I need to never again pose a threat to another, he wrote on Twitter. Quote, I cannot express my sorrow or remorse enough. I am truly ashamed. Wheeler was set to be a free agent in March, but by waiving him now, the Seahawks have cut ties with him. Wheeler started 19 games with the Giants in the 2017 and 2018 seasons. So, you want the first stab at it?
So if that is the picture that I seen, and if that is how she looks, I don't feel like he should have gotten bond. With this being so close to home, I feel like he deserves prison.
Oh,
like,
no.
Not just jail and sitting and waiting for you to, get to see the judge or whatever. No, you deserve prison if that's how she really looks.
That's how she looks.
I mean, even if that's not how she really looks, domestic violence is that's a no for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't always like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know, people who are in that situation, it's hard to say, or it's hard to leave, even though now I can say it wouldn't be hard for me to do, one time.
It's
It's like now I hit back,
Yeah.
And so
that was not meant to be like I've hit her and she hit me back. I trust. Never. And I'm not that dumb. She would kill me.
I would not, Mom.
Whatever. Your mama would.
No, I think that it's hard for me even now because we have two girls. And I mean, we've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
I never want them, to feel how I felt when I was growing up, with my mom, with me. I never want them to be in a relationship where they feel they can't look at somebody, or you're gonna get a hand, or they can't even talk to someone, or you're gonna get a hand. And this wasn't even the case. We don't know what led up to the situation.
Correct.
From my understanding, it was just an episode you have because you have something going on with you mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But why wasn't this seen before by the who he's playing football with? I mean, is this the first time that it's happened? Is this, apparently it's not the first time because you're on medication for it. And if you've been off your medication, then why wasn't something done about that?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel really bad for her. And I hope that what she said wasn't, an attempt to, be like, oh, it was just a manic episode. It might have been a manic episode, but that is something. No, you deserve prison. If you were somebody of color, I feel like you would be in prison. I'm trying to watch what I say because
I get it. And we're gonna talk about all of that. So just go ahead and just get it off now.
Get all my questions and all my
get it off. Because I'm gonna answer everything you just said.
Okay.
So and then you let it chime in. So go ahead and pop them off now.
For me, it's scary because I look at my girls and I just look at them. I'd be like, if somebody ever put their hands on my daughter,
I'm gonna be in that house state prison.
I feel like,
that's always over.
She was calling her family. I would have been one of the family members driving over there while calling 911.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just really sad to me. It's hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it, and it actually just brings anger in me to see that, to read it, and to hear that he got out.
Yeah.
And even though somebody said this was a manic episode, that you got out that quick, but not into a facility to get help. Yeah, you say you want to get help. Quitting football, okay, good. You know, but you know, I can't. He's trying to do that, and I hope he goes, you know, through with it. But what is going on with the justice system to let him out? I don't get that. If you were to let him out, you should have let him out into a facility, first of all. If that's what is going on. Like, how do you know he's still taking his meds? You can say all of that. You can say it just to get what you want. But then what?
And I'm not.
Is she gonna stay in this relationship?
Keep talking.
You know, I can't make my girls, you know, I can have a big say so. No, I don't like him. No, he's not good. You know, that's what my mama used to do. My mama used to do that to me.
Yeah.
You know, Nikki, I don't know about
she knew about me though.
About I don't know about him. And you know, I would be like, it's okay. And you know, looking back at that, listen to your mama. You know, we're not always right, but you know, we've been through some stuff. My mama's been through some stuff, and kind of know what we're talking about a little bit. Kind of get that discerning, you know, feeling or whatever, maybe from the past. I don't know, but I don't know. I just feel hurt. I don't know what else to say.
Okay. So again, feel free to chime in whenever. Because I'm finna everything you just said is everything that's written on my piece of paper of what I want to talk about.
And I know you said that, you know, she's not saying all of what she said about him and his manic episodes to, you know, negate the fact that all this happened, but I wouldn't even care at that point. Manic episode? What manic episode?
So let me pop off my thoughts first before we get into like the nuances of all this stuff, because it's so much to unpack that, you know, we may end up talking for the next 2 hours and not be able to cover the surface of everything that happened. But the main thing that stuck out to me about this story and what happened and why I wanted to bring it up, it's two things. But the second thing is what I'm going to talk about later. The main thing that really stuck out to me and made me raise my eyebrow was the fact that when she got up after the second time of being unconscious, this man went into her room and said the following: "Oh, you're still alive." Like, at that point, to me, and I could be wrong, that goes beyond a manic episode. Like, I've heard of manic episodes going to, you know, some strange places in my doing mental health treatment. But for you to have come out of your mouth, "Oh, you're still alive," is a little deeper to me than merely a manic episode. That to me sounds a little more calculated than just a manic episode. And so for me, that was the part that really made me raise my eyebrows and say, okay, what really happened in that room? What really happened in that conversation? Like, in no way, shape, or form does anything justify anybody putting hands on anybody. Let's be clear. Like, nobody should be fighting anybody. And I know that there are times where Domestic violence can come from the woman to the man instead of it being from the man to the woman. Although, most DV cases are about, a woman being beaten by a man, but there are cases where women have beaten men. Nevertheless, there is no reason for anybody to put their hands on anybody, period, point blank. No, well, I mean, there's no reason for it to be instigated, is what I'm saying. Like, yes, defend yourself if somebody about to pummel you, like beat the snot out of them if you can. And I'm sure she fought for herself. Let's be clear. But what I'm saying is, it's one thing to be fighting someone, and you're having a manic episode and kind of just all over the place. But it's a whole nother thing to have a calculated mindset where, oh, you're still alive. That's the part that kind of makes me feel like, okay, is this really mania? Because mania doesn't sound like that to me. Again, clinical experience be darned. That doesn't sound like a manic episode to me. That doesn't sound like a quote unquote crime of passion or heat of the moment type stuff. That sounds calculated to me. That sounds like anger to me and some rage pent up and turned into some really nasty stuff. That doesn't sound like mania to me. So, having said that, the fact that then she said to the reporters and said to the investigators that he was having a manic episode, 1, and 2 had not been taking his meds is what raised yet another concern for me. Because if anyone knows anything about mental health, a doctor tried to prescribe me when I was going through a series of what felt like panic attacks. The doctor tried to prescribe me some medications and told me that they were going to help with my thoughts and help, to kind of calm all those things down. But I had to take a very, very strong thought process. I had to think for myself for a little bit and be like, okay, if I take these medications, if I start myself on these medications, I am committing myself to taking these meds for the rest of my life. Because once I start taking these meds, my mind is going to be altered. And once my mind is altered, there is no turning back. And if I decide I'm going to come off these meds and I come off cold turkey thinking I don't need them anymore, chances are I'm going to make my mind worse than what it is. And so she said that it's a manic episode, but I'm of the mindset of thinking that this dude had a psychotic break. Because if he hadn't been on his medications for 2 weeks, I've seen people who have not been on medications, who were taking medications religiously, and then all of a sudden decided they didn't want to take their meds no more, and they were trying to live their lives as if they were normal, and come to find out they needed their meds more than they ever needed them before because they were dumb enough to come off on cold turkey the way they did instead of coming off them slowly like you're supposed to, in hopes that your mind will stay the same, if not better, coming off the meds. And so for them to try to minimize it to it being, oh, he had a manic episode. No, if he hadn't been taking his medications for a couple of weeks, his mind has been warped. And as a result, that man has some really dark thoughts, and he has some really dark thoughts about her. And those dark thoughts led him to want to have her killed, beat her senseless twice, choked her out twice. Thank God she woke back up. Ran to a bathroom. He broke down the bathroom door to get to her, and then wouldn't let the police arrest him when they got there, and then want to claim he don't beat women and he loves her. Like, if that don't read psychotic break to me, I don't know what does. And again, like I said, I'm just a little mental health counselor or whatever. It ain't like I'm a psychiatrist or anything, but I want to think that I know enough about these situations and know enough about medication regimens to know that something didn't seem right to me when they tried to minimize it to it being just an active manic episode. Because again, mania doesn't do that much damage. And so again, for me, that's what kind of had me a little worried about the situation a little bit more deeply than just merely it being about him having a manic episode and it caused him to want to beat up on his girlfriend. No, something seems a little bit deeper to me than that for it to have gotten to that point. So I'm hoping that he was able to get the help that he needs coming out of the jail, despite the fact that I think that he needed to be remanded to a psychiatric facility myself. Like, I don't think it was good for him to get out on bond and be free. Like, he needed to be sent to a psychiatric facility where he could get himself evaluated ASAP. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what football team you play for. I don't care what color your skin is. If you do something that heinous, you do something that despicable, and you're claiming that it's a mental health break that caused that to happen, then, sir, you need to go to a mental health facility ASAP, and you need to be remanded there so they can check you out and make sure that you're really okay.
You're right. I think I'm just still mad at the fact that he's out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I am too.
Like,
I am too.
Put all these people in jail for,
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Jail for
stealing a book bag.
So minor.
Stealing a book bag.
Or even not stealing it, or being accused of, or or people who have already been to jail and you missed something that you didn't know you were supposed to do, and
Come on now. Yep.
It's late. And you put all these people in jail for so many minor things, but then
something this heinous with this much evidence.
But you're about to take a life.
Mm-hmm.
How is that not
$400,000 bond?
And for him, that's probably nothing.
Of course, he's a football player.
How is that right? And that's why,
That's why. Come on now.
So many women, I feel.
Come on now.
Don't
say anything.
Because say something for what?
It's not like it's gonna make a difference.
Especially if this is somebody who's not, having an episode and who is, extremely sane.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you don't want to say anything, because they could come back to you.
I mean, let's take it one step. Take it one step further than that. It's interesting that you have Michael Vick, who was put under the jail for dog fighting. It's interesting that you can have someone who has been accused of beating their child, someone who hit people with a car, and yet they, the people who hit people with a car, nothing happens to them. Whole senator, whole governor, I believe it was, hit a man. He still walked free. You can incite a riot and still walk free. But this man
tried to kill her.
Walking free. Twice now, and walk free. He walking free. But Michael Vick, all he was doing, mind you, was wrong. It was terrible what he did. But all he was doing was having dogs fight each other. And they threw the book at him. They couldn't wait to get him off the streets, because how dare he do this to dogs? But because it's a woman, it must be all right. He can walk the streets free. No problem. You don't need a restraining order against her. It's fine. It's all right. No big deal. It's never enough until someone's actually dead. And even then, they'll still try to use mitigating circumstances like a manic episode to try to get him off. That's the way that's how the justice system tends to work. And it sucks because you take it even one step further than that, I can't really say whether this has anything to do with it, but he's a white man and she's a black woman. Does that have anything to do with it? The fact that he's white, she's black. If this were a white woman who had gotten beaten up, would that have made a difference? Would they have thrown the book at him then? We hope that that's not the case. I don't know whether she's pressed charges or not. I mean, the charges have been filed against him. Is she going to follow through with them though? Who knows? But that's a whole nother part of the conversation that I want to have. So I don't want to get ahead of myself with that. But I don't know. I don't know whether or not the charges will stick. I don't know whether she'll whether she will live up to and go through the whole trial process with him in that. Who knows? But again, it's always interesting to see how these things kind of play themselves out, because once again, he gets out on bond. He gets out on $400,000 bond. Is able to walk the streets and roam free and do whatever he wants to do. But if it really was a manic episode that he had, is he getting the help that he needs? Is he taking his meds now? Is he going and seeking the treatment that he needs? Is he owning up to his actions, not just so he can seem contrite to the rest of the world, but so because he actually sees that, bruh, you have a problem. Like, I think that's the part that's gonna be bothering me about it too, is that when these guys, they get in trouble, all of a sudden they want to show contrition and they want to be contrite and they want to get on media and say, I'm sorry for this and I'm sorry for that. But are you really sorry? Or are you sorry that you got caught? What if you would have killed her? What would you have done then? Would you have tried to hide her body? Would you have tried to run away? Like, is it the fact that she stayed alive that that you got caught and now you feel sorry because you got caught and now your name and your reputation and your money and everything else comes with it is gone away? And so yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And like we said, it sucks because it's like, we've seen this story happen far too often. And, regardless of whether it's a racial thing or whether it's a male, female thing, it's a thing that should not be happening. Not in 2021, you would think. But it's like the further along things go, the more things tend to stay the same. And it's just unfortunate because it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be this way. If you have any questions or comments, fill out that comment box below and we'll try to get to them as fast as we can. You're watching a very special edition of the Puzzle Podcast with Eddie and Nicole. If you are in need of any assistance related to domestic violence, you can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Again, that's 1-800-799-7233.
The sad thing is, this is not something that's new.
No.
Domestic violence is not new. I mean, it's been going on since forever. Yeah. Even in the Bible. Yeah. I mean, it's been going on forever. And it's sad that that's reality and that's how people act. And that's how people feel that that's how they need to get their point across, or even not get their point across,
or express themselves. No.
And I can't say it enough how fearful that makes me of my girls. Mm-hmm. That's why I want to teach them self-defense, because what if you have a 300-something pound person, mm-hmm. Over you? What can you do? What can you do? I mean, it's so important to defend yourself, no matter who it is. Yeah. And we don't know that whole situation, how it started, or whatever. She may not have had time to do that. She probably didn't know how to defend herself. We don't know. One, he's a darn football player.
He's a darn football player.
People probably more than half his size,
Okay.
So. Okay. So I don't know. I just keep saying I don't know because I feel like I'm not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with me. It's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, if you're watching this, I love you. But yeah, it's crazy because, with how I felt at the time,
Mm-hmm.
you almost feel, and this may sound crazy, but I'm telling you, this is how some women or men think in this situation.
Come on.
You feel some sort of
responsibility.
you feel some sort of um safety.
Yes. Yes.
Because of the fact that they want to keep you so close, or you can't do this. It sounds weird, but this is where your mind goes.
Where your mind goes. Talk about it.
You feel some sort of safety. You feel some type of comfort, not in the midst of it, but you're not thinking along the lines of something is wrong with this person.
Right.
You're thinking along the lines of, okay,
this person
what
loves
do I
me.
need to do to make this right?
Yeah.
What do I need to do? Don't look at this person because it's not right. And you're thinking to yourself, what you're doing is not right. I don't know if that's their situation. I don't know if that's how she feels. I pray to God that's not how she feels. Because if that's how she looks, then what I want to say, I can't say on camera.
Yeah, you can.
Nope, I cannot. And women feel this way, and you feel like sometimes you feel like you can't get out, but then sometimes you feel like you shouldn't. Like, yes. I'm supposed to be here. You feel that nobody else can treat you like me, or nobody else can do this for you like I can, or nobody else can deal with your mess. Nobody else can deal with you. These are things that are being said to you.
Yes.
And just like in teaching, you teach someone that and repetitionally put that in their mind every day, every minute. That's what their brain starts to retain, and that's what they start to feel.
Yes.
And so
yeah, no, you tap dancing all over everything I want to talk about. That's part of the reason why the situation is so nuanced, because we have to also keep in mind when it comes to the mind of the abused, there is a method of control that comes with an abusive situation, in that person is battling to get your mind to think that you are that they are the only person that can love you the way that you need to be loved.
Yes.
And it starts off sweet. It starts off real charismatic. It starts off real awesome. Yes. But then after a while, the true person comes out. And when that person comes out, you're in a relationship with this person for so long that you start to wonder whether or not you did something to make that person do whatever they did to you. Whether it's verbal, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's spiritual, all the above. We talked about it before, going through spiritual abuse at churches, where, you're told that, oh, you're not caring about God because you're not doing this, or you're not caring about the church because you're not doing that. God's going to strike you dead if you don't do this, or God's going to, do this if you don't do that. That is a method of control. It's a method of abuse. And so in a domestic violence situation, that's part of it. And that takes time to build up to where you are now. It's not so much an expectation, but you're in love. And that love.
Some people, it depends on who you are and where your mind state is already. I feel like people who are in a mind state who don't have a good self-esteem already. They're easily manipulated into that sooner. But then you have, people who are a little bit more strong-minded. It takes a little bit more,
but it's still possible.
It's still possible. It's all the way possible.
Yeah. And so to that end, it's like, we're kind of jumping to the end, but we're gonna yo-yo for the rest of this night anyway. That's why, for me, I don't want to judge her. I don't want to judge her because I don't know how long she's been in this relationship with this guy. I don't know what she's put up with. I don't know what she's dealt with. I don't know what type of issues, this person has brought into her life, to get her to the place where she is. And none of us should be sitting in the seat of judgment. Oh, I just leave him, child. No, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know. I've known plenty of people in my few years of working at the prison. I've run into so many people who were in that exact situation, and yet they stayed because they loved the person they were with, in hopes that the love that they have for that person would cause them to change. Not realizing that that's just a cycle. And half the time, the dudes don't even realize that that's what they're doing. They don't realize. They're so used to doing it and so used to people putting up with it that's just how they are. That's how they're hardwired. That's why they need therapy. That's why they need to talk to somebody about the stuff they got going on the inside, because it's much more nuanced than that. Again, it doesn't excuse it in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not here trying to, take sides. But what I'm saying is there are some people who will listen to this podcast or have heard the story and been like, I don't know why she stayed. That's dumb. If that were me, I wouldn't have done that. You don't know what you would. You don't know what you would do in a situation where the person you love has turned a complete 180 on you in some type of way, and it's got you all up inside. They basically gaslit you, making you think that you're the opposition, that you're the enemy, that you're the bad person, and now you're grasping at straws trying to figure out what in the world did I do. And especially if they've gone through the steps of cutting you off from everybody that you love. They have forced you can't have any conversation with nobody who cares about you. I'm the only one who cares. I'm the only one who loves you right. If you talk to anybody else, they're not going to treat you the way that I'm going to treat you. And so, you have that going on inside the mind. Again, just like you said, with enough repetition, you start to believe that stuff. Yeah. So we don't know what put her in that mindset to stay with him as long as she did. We don't know what put him in the mindset to think that this was okay. But it's a relationship in which both of them need help. Both of them need therapy. Both of them need the law to get involved. Both need Jesus. Yes. Because at the end of the day, like something of this magnitude, it requires a mind change. And sometimes that mind change is going to take some time. That's why, again, I'm mad at him. If he was taking medications and stop taking the medications, bro, that was the dumbest thing you could have done, because now your mind is warped even more so than it was before you were on the meds. And then when you got on the meds, it warped you the first time even more. And now you're warped all over because you've taken yourself off the meds. Like, bro, you messed yourself up even more. And so again, it's not to say one way or another that, go ahead. Like, it's not to say, that again, that we're condoning him, or that, that it's okay that they're justifying anything that he's done. But at the end of the day, like, you want to turn into 20, huh? Boy, take them all, boo. Take them all. Take them all. Take them. Take them. Take them. Take them, boo. Take them. Yeah. Love you. Girl, like, this is not one. But again, it doesn't excuse it. But again, it's like, bro, you cannot take yourself off of something that's serious and think that you're gonna be okay. No, it don't work like that. It does not work like that. But again, I'm saying all that to say, we on the outside looking in must not get into that position of saying, well, child, you should have left him a long time ago. You don't know. You don't know what that situation was like. You don't know what you would do if you were in that situation. You just don't know, because because when you love somebody, you're willing to do whatever it takes to see the best for them. You see the best in them. Thank you for loving me. You see the best in them. You see the potential in them, and you just want them to see it themselves. And you hold out on hope that they'll see it one day. Now, no guarantee that it's going to come to pass, but you're hoping that it will someday. And so that's what you do. Like you hold out on hope, and that hope sometimes it just never comes. But again, it would do us well to not paint her with a broad brush and think that she's dumb for staying. No, I mean, whether she is or isn't is of a secondary importance. The fact is, he shouldn't have put his hands on her. Period. Point blank. He shouldn't have done that. And it sucks that he did. And now we can only hope that she's safe, that she's well, that she's protected.
You want to stay with that mama.
Listen, exactly. So again, we can only hope that that's what she has done. And again, if anyone like you, if anyone who's listening to this podcast right now is in a similar situation like that, please, if you're in a situation, don't feel like you have to stay. But again, you do what you need to do to get out of the situation as best as you can. Don't leave all willy-nilly. And again, that's a whole nother conversation that we could have in light of that. So I'm gonna try to hold my comments till the end, even in that regard. If you have any questions or comments, fill out that comment box below. We'll try to get to them as fast as we can. You're watching a very special episode of the Puzzle Podcast with Eddie and Nicole here on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Next part I wanted to talk about was the fact that it took us 4 days to find out about the story. As Nicole had alluded to earlier, it's interesting how we can know something so fast, when it comes to a lot of different subjects in this world. We can know, as soon as Rihanna drops a brand new album, we know in like 10 seconds. When Halsey announced to the world that she had her baby, like Instagram lit up like a firecracker. She had 1 million hits, 1 million likes in like 15 minutes. CNN picked up the story right away, and everybody knew she's pregnant. When Beyonce drops a new album, it's sold out within the first 15 minutes of her selling it. When she drops a concert, everybody knows. When someone gets arrested of high prominence, it seems like we know about it relatively quickly. But a lot of people were upset over the fact that it took us 4 days to find out about the fact that a football player had beat up his girlfriend. It took that long for us to get that information, and it took us that long to hear that news. And so my thought process on that is, when I found out that a football player had beat up his girlfriend, my first thought was, who that? I mean, no lie, I don't know who Chris Wheeler is. I would, if you would have told me that he was a football player, I would have told you for what, in what league, because I honestly don't know that person. I think that, the call to arms for people to say, oh, if it would have been a white woman, we would have found out the day of, or if I kind of beg to differ only in this regard. This football player, don't nobody really know him like that. Like, he's really, when I tell you he's an average Joe, he's an average Joe. I told you his stats. He played a few games with the Giants. He played a few games with some other team. He played a few games with Seattle. Like, it's not like he's this, 5-star, running back or quarterback, or, he's just a football player. He really is just one of them average football players who, otherwise would not even heard about had this situation happen. And so a lot of people were trying to call to arms, the media and everybody else and their grandma for not having, put enough press on this, and try to make it into a race thing where if it had been a white woman, we would have found out a whole lot sooner. And there might be some truth to that. But I think in this case, we can call off the dogs on that, because I didn't know him. And I still kind of don't know him. even after all the research that I've done just for this podcast alone, really don't know this guy. And so, though I'm glad that people are still trying to bring about an awareness of the fact that this thing did happen, I think that in this particular case, and again, exceptions to every rule, obviously, but I think in this particular case, we can actually say it was just the fact that it was this random dude that just happened to play for the Seattle Seahawks that made this story big, big enough to be, to be talked about for a few days, but not to the point where, it needed to make national headlines. What you think?
I don't know. I feel like even though you don't know him, you find out the next day if somebody did a shooting at a club, nobody knows y'all, so I feel like to this extent, like what you've done, why wasn't it put out? I mean, I know I'm not trying to be nosy, but why would it take so long? I mean, you find out everything else the next day, Yeah,
listen, I'm with you.
For something like that.
I guess that's why I said
the
only reason why I don't think it was found out like that is because of who. Because the only reason why I don't think it was found out the way that other things have been found out in the past is because of who it was. Like, I don't think that it's any other reason outside of that. Like, mind you, I'm like you. Like, I wish that we would have found out sooner. I wish they would have told the story sooner. I wish that there would have been more press coverage on it, not because of not because of the person, but I think the situation, demands that we talk about it more because it's a subject that we don't like talking about. I think for me, that's the reason why I would want it to come up more. But outside of that, like, again, I still don't really know who this person is like that. It doesn't mean that we don't need to talk about it. I just think that in this particular case, given who it is who did what he did, that, I'm not saying that the press did an outstanding job of covering the 2 minutes that they did of the story. But again, I think that we can kinda cut them a little bit of slack, only because, like I said, the person ain't really all that known. Again, I think that in light of the fact that the story, that we need to talk about it, and that it needs to be put out there, and that we need to be made aware of it, and that we need to bring this darkness to the light so we can expose it and kill it. I think that's the bigger message that I get out of all of this, is that this is something that we can't keep sweeping under the rug. We need to talk about these things. We need to talk about why domestic violence is such a big deal. We need to talk about why, people still feel as if it's okay for them to do these things and there not be consequences or there not be repercussions outside of a slap on the wrist. I think we do need to talk about the fact that this is something that affects a lot more people than we're willing to admit. And in doing so, maybe shed some real light on the issue and actually do something about it. Because I think that's the critical thing for me. Again, I hope that it ain't a racial thing that caused them to be like, oh, well, it's just a black woman, so who cares? It'll make page 5 or whatever. I hope that's not the thinking behind it, because if that's the case, then shame on every person on planet Earth, who thinks that way. But again, just given the set of circumstances, I don't want to believe that they were trying to minimize it because it was a black woman and a white man. I don't want them to have minimized it because because of who he is. But again, I would understand it. It doesn't make it right, but I would understand it because, again, it's not like he's Chris Brown. It's not like it's Chris Brown and Rihanna, because when they got into their thing, that was news for like 7 days straight.
But see, that's where the problem also lies. You're not making the situation the most important thing. You're making the person or who it's happening to the most important thing. The story that's talked about shouldn't be so much as to who it is it's happening to. It should be what is happening. Like, it shouldn't matter who it is. Like, if something like this happened, I mean, why? I mean, I get what you're saying, but why take so long to come out when?
Come on now.
I don't know if it was this bad for Chris Brown and Rihanna. I don't know. I doubt it, because no one was about to die. I don't think. I was not there with that situation. But in this, you see it. You hear it. Hear what she's saying. And yet and still, this didn't come out until later. I mean, and it may be that they wanted it that way. You never know how they had felt about it. She may not have wanted people to know right away. And I can understand that too, because of the backlash that could come with it. But still, it's almost like people make the person the most important and not the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I hear you, and that kind of makes me want to amend what I just said as a result. That's actually very insightful. Okay. No, for real, because listen, what did I just say? If I say something ignorant or dumb, please call me out. Because no, I'm not above in the moment, changing how I feel about something. Because I mean, you're right. Like, it shouldn't be about the person as much as it is about the situation. And so, like I said, to that end, you're right. It shouldn't be that, since it didn't happen to anybody, that's all that important. We don't need to cover it. I'm not saying that that's the mindset that they went in with, but I bet you that's the mindset they went in there with. Like, this isn't headline news because it's not Tom Brady. It's not LeBron James. It's not Michael Vick. It's not Colin Kaepernick. It's not give me somebody else splashy. It's not Jay-Z. It's not Beyonce. It's not Rihanna. It's not Chris Brown. It's not Trey Songz. It's none of those guys. It's this unknown dude that don't nobody really know or care about. And I think that was the motivation behind the story not coming out as fast as it could have, like we've seen with so many other things. And so again, it doesn't make it right. But again, I think that's the mindset that they went in there with. Because like I said, because again, real talk, when they told me who it was, I said, who that? I don't know. Listen, the pictures pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. And if I said that word, y'all offended, I'm sorry. Like, the pictures pissed me off. Okay. Because you saw the beating.
Oh, you see?
I seen the pictures. So no, I was 98 hot too. So let's be clear. Like, I didn't just look at the picture like, oh, whatever. Like, no, it was mad, man. But at the end, like I said, at the end of the day, like, I understand how these things work. I don't think they're right, but I understand how these things work when it comes to news cycles and stuff like that. And so, it happened. It happened to where we didn't know about it as soon as we did, and people can speculate for numerous reasons why that was the case. And so I'm not taking any argument off the table. We don't know why they chose to keep the story under wraps until Wednesday afternoon. But it is what it is. That's what happened, and as a result, we didn't find out about it until when we did. And when we found out what happened, we were 98 hot. So, if you have any questions or comments, fill out that comment box below. We'll try to get to them as fast as we can. You're watching the Puzzle Podcast with Eddie and Nicole here on Instagram. Let me see. Yeah, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about was just the fact that if you are, in a situation or a circumstance like that where you feel like you are, just not in a good place in your relationships, if it's boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever your relationship is, gay, straight, whatever. If you're being abused by a parent, or, if you are a parent being abused by a child in some kind of way, and you just do not know, what to do, we would hope that we can inspire you to talk to somebody about it. It doesn't have to be a professional per se, but we're advocating today that find the courage to talk to someone about what you have going on, not to try to make any decisions about your life or whatever, but to just know that you're not alone, and that there are people who care about you and care about your situation.
And not just physical violence, like emotional,
the whole 9 yards. Yeah,
it has a toll on you. Like, people think that physical violence is worse than emotional. Like, physical violence probably hurts in the moment more, but guess what? That hurt from the physical violence goes away, but that emotional toll stays.
Mm-hmm.
And so, wow. Like, don't feel that you're alone, even though it may seem like it, because you're the only one in that particular situation. But I guarantee you're not the only one who, has been through it and who is going through it. And so, I mean, I know in some cases it's hard because you have people who are in a higher status, who could probably get away with it more. But I guarantee you there are people out there who do not think like that and who don't agree with that. And so don't feel like you're alone and that you have to do it by yourself. I pray that there's someone in your life, if the person hasn't driven everybody away from your life, that is there that you can talk to. And I mean, I would even go so far as to, contacting one of us, even if we're a million miles away. I mean, we have so many different resources that we can use. And even if it's just to vent, you don't feel like you're going to get out, but you need to talk to someone. You never know what may change. Like, the mindset of what you feel, of what you're thinking, that should not be your reality. Because one, I know that we beat this like a dead horse. I feel like, this is going to be something that continues on and continues on. Why? Just like with politics, because you have kids who grow up in this, and this is what they learn. Mm-hmm. And so then the cycle that God doesn't let you conform to that.
Come on now.
But that who you are. I mean, even if you're not saved, you are it. It's not okay for that to be done to you physically or emotionally.
Nope.
And I know that, you say it's easier said than done, and that
dang
is so
right
true.
It is. Yes.
It is easier said than done.
And that's why we're talking about it.
Because of the mentality,
mm-hmm.
because of, the way you're thinking right now.
Yep.
And what has caused you to think this way.
Mm-hmm.
But I guarantee you it is not the right way. It's not right. I say it more because I look at my beautiful girls and I always tell them, if someone puts their hands on you, you make sure they never want to put their hands on you again.
Mm-hmm.
You tear them up.
You let me know.
And if you can't, and if you see that, and this is what I used to think sometimes, y'all, because I had it in school. I had to even say this to myself and it was a football player.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like you can't beat them, you better pick something up.
Come on now. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes
Avengers.
to see another day,
mm-hmm.
To see another minute. I can only imagine what this woman was feeling, writing to her parents to call 911 and telling 911 that he's killing me.
Yeah.
Like, and it hurts. It
mm-hmm.
hurts because I think what my mom went through, what I went through, you know, what your mom went through. It is real.
Yes.
But it's not right.
No.
It is not right. It is not right, Marie, for someone to put their hands on you no matter what. And so I don't know. I just pray that whoever is in this situation, you know, God give you a light to see, you know, to change your mind, to change your heart, you know, to open it up to what can be, to what should be. And I know this, like I said, it's going to be a continuing cycle, and when Jesus, and it won't stop till Jesus comes. But I mean, up until then, all we can do is just continue to do what's right and to try to help stop it, even though we know we can't.
And I mean, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's why I wanted to do the podcast the way we did it today. Like, I wanted to make sure that we had this conversation because it's real. Like, this is an ongoing thing. And I know so many of y'all, especially in the puzzle universe, go through this all the time, have been going through this for a long time, have gone through this so many different times. And I'm not asking anybody to tell their personal stories tonight or whatever, but we just want you to know that we are here. And that, you know, if ever you feel the need to want to talk to somebody, even like I said, like Nicole said, even if it's us, you know, through a direct message, man, like whatever it takes to get this stuff off your chest, like we're here. People are there, and they're accessible. And we want to know what you're going through. We want to know what the situations are. We want to know what the problems are, because, you know, maybe there's something we can do, or maybe there's something we can say, or maybe there's some place we could point you, you know, to get you the help that you need, even if it's just to make it through one more day. You know, it's too important. You know, in the year 2021, I think it's time out now for us playing politics and playing, you know, all these niceties and, you know, trying to, you know, pivot around conversation and just be real with each other about what's really going on with one another. That's why we said what we said before, that I'm glad that the story did come out. I'm not glad that it took forever and a day to come out, but it came out. And as a result, we're talking about it. You can't kill the darkness unless you expose it to the light. You can't kill it. If you let the darkness stay dark, it's only going to get darker. You got to bring some light to it in order to make things right. Bring awareness to it and keep beating that drum. Even if they try to silence you, you keep beating the drum, because at some point, somebody's going to pick up that mantle. The right person's going to hear the story. The right person's going to hear the message and do something about it. And so tell your story. Tell somebody what you got going on, because I promise you, there's someone out there who is waiting chomping at the bit for someone to tell the story, so that they know that they're not alone. And again, if it's just a mere sending a DM saying, hey, I know what that person's going through, or hey, that's my story, we want to hear it if it'll help. So my wife, you know, was like, so are we going to say anything, you know, positive today? And I think we said a lot of positive things in light of everything we talked about, but there's a good feel-good story out there that we are going to talk about real briefly. I don't care what your politics are. Bernie Sanders memes and mittens have now raised over $1.8 million for charity. The weather for President Joe Biden's inauguration ceremony was blustery, with snow flurries and a wind chill making the temperature drop to near freezing. But never let it be said that a Vermonter like Senator Bernie Sanders doesn't know how to dress for winter weather. Along with Amanda Gorman's stirring poem, heck yeah, Senator Sanders' now iconic mittens was one of the highlights of the day. Within 24 hours, the casual look has launched more memes than anyone could count, and like Elf on the Shelf, it was pretty much everywhere. Bernie's hunkered down image, captured by the decorated photographer Brendan Samolowski, was soon photoshopped into classic paintings like Edward Hopper's Nighthawks and Botticelli's Birth of Venus. He's been inserted into contemporary pop culture with winks and nods to Sex and the City, Twilight, Game of Thrones, and Where's Waldo. He's even been swapped into Sharon Stone's infamous cross-leg hot seat pose from Basic Instinct. Apart from injecting some much-needed humor onto our social feeds, Senator Sanders' sartorial tour de force injected some much needed cash into a few charities, thanks to the senator himself who seized on the moment. He quickly added the image to a line of merchandise on his website with all proceeds. I know, right? Yes. Benefiting Vermont-based charities, including Meals on Wheels and senior citizen advocacy groups. The sweatshirts, tees, and stickers sold out in less than 30 minutes. Additional supplies were similarly snapped up faster than you could say Jack Frost. In all, Sanders reportedly raised around $1.8 million in the span of 5 days. We're so glad we can use my internet fame to help Vermonters in need, Sanders said in a statement. Jen Ellis, the Vermont elementary school teacher responsible for making the world's most famous mittens from a repurposed sweater, reported via social media that Sanders called to let her know that the mitten frenzy had raised big bucks for a number of worthy causes. Ellis, who was inundated with requests for the mittens, which she doesn't have time to make, set up a new philanthropic website called Generosity Brings Joy. She will be collaborating with businesses to design and create Bernie mitten-themed products to benefit charity, hoping the, quote, joyful, high-quality items make up some of the shortfalls of nonprofits during the pandemic. Quote, this is the lesson life has taught me again and again, said Jen Ellis, who has gifted the original mittens to Sanders. If you give of yourself, not just material gifts, but your time, your goodwill, your kindness, you receive joy. It's that simple. You don't have to be rich to care. You just have to be human. We all have so many gifts, and the world is a better place when we share them. So what are we always saying? If you can't see the good, be the good. You know, if you feel like there's no good things going on out there and your Instagram feeds are filled with nothing but negativity, go be the good, because you just never know what your kind person's soul. In this thing called soul works, we're not caring about fame and prestige and high fashion. You know, Bernie Sanders, all the money that he raised, he didn't put it in a war chest for his campaign. What did he do? He gave it away. And so, again, you know, it's just an opportunity to once again realize that there's some good things happening in the world. And if you can't see it, just go be it. And someone's soul will benefit greatly from you doing whatever it is that you do to help them out. And so, again, that's what we're doing here with this podcast today. You know, if you feel like you need to talk to somebody about your situation and you don't want to use the hotline or you don't want to go to therapy or whatever, hit us up. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to have a conversation with you just to get whatever you need to get off your chest. You know, again, if you feel like you are in need of some type of resource, feel free to call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. But again, you know, we're just hoping that we were able to shed some light on the situation. And I thank you, Nicole, for being so open today, because I know, given your situations and your circumstances in your past, you know, that this was a hard topic for you to talk about. So I thank you for being able to share yourself with the world today. But again, we hope and pray that you're able to, you know, get something out of this one on today. Next week, we hope that we'll be able to find something good. You know, I definitely want to talk about the people who bankrupted some hedge fund companies out their money using their own tools against them. So I definitely want to talk about the
story about the light skin.
What story?
I don't know.
Oh, the lyrics. Yeah. Okay. So no, we can't talk about this week. But we bring that up too. So yeah. So we got a couple of stories at the bare minimum already that we're gonna talk about next week. I can't wait to talk about them because these jokes are dumb. Yeah. Thank y'all so much for watching. We kind of gone over our time, but thank you so much for watching. Feel free to hit us up with comment questions about the podcast. And yeah. I may or may not let y'all know why my name has changed on Instagram. See how I feel about that.
He'll let you know.
No, I might not care. But at any rate, I love y'all. Be well, and we'll see y'all on the next episode of the Puzzle Podcast with Eddie and Nicole right here on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Peace out, homies.
Okay.